Hi partners, and welcome to the February edition of our monthly feature release training. It's great to have you back. We have a lot of exciting stuff in store for today, and we will have a special guest speaker, one of our product managers at Google. You probably know her very well. A little more on that once we get to the agenda, so sit tight. Let's start with the usual slides. So first, a reminder about confidentiality. So the contents of this training are confidential. We are sharing this information with you because you're under NDA. Generally speaking, anything that's already launched, you are welcome to share, especially if it's already documented in our external help center or our blog. That information can be shared with clients, but anything that's pre-launch or unique to this training, please do keep confidential. It's particularly true today because today we do have a lot of beta launches and upcoming launches we're discussing rather than things that have already launched. So please bear in mind that everything is confidential. If you're not sure what you can share, you're welcome to reach out to our team and we'll let you know. Also a reminder that because a lot of the things we're discussing, particularly today, haven't launched yet, the launch dates are subject to change. So when possible, we try to give you a pretty good estimate of when things will launch, but depending how product feedback comes in and how priorities change, launch dates could shift. So the best way to know if something is launched, we do try to keep you updated in our trainings, but also to check our external help center and our blog, and that's usually a pretty good indicator that something's live. So a reminder about questions, usual drill. Please feel free to post questions during the training. You can go to the URL at the top of the screen. If you click it directly, sometimes it doesn't work, so if you're having trouble, just be sure to open a separate tab in your browser, input the URL directly and go to it. You should be able to enter a question there, and we'll take all your Q&A at the end of today's training. So jumping in, this is our agenda for today. So today we're mostly focused on Analytics and Data Studio. We're actually going to start with both Analytics Free and Analytics Enterprise, and then we're going to move into Data Studio. We will have Mary Pishney, who most of you are probably very familiar with, joining us because she is a product manager for Data Studio now. So she'll be coming in at the end, and we will save some time for her to do Q&A as well, and she'll go over some of these many and very exciting Data Studio launches that are coming up this month. Okay, so with that said, let's hop right in to Analytics Standard. So going to start with a couple of smaller updates on the standard side first. This one's actually not really a small update. It depends how much you like user-based reporting. So we are rolling out user-based reporting to all of our Analytics Standard accounts. It's already launched, so you've probably already noticed it. This is something that already launched in Analytics 360 properties quite a while ago. It was mid-2017. So what this means is that the reports are updated to focus on users. So you, instead of having the traditional session-based reporting, all analytics properties are now opted into this user-based reporting. Well, that will be the primary dimension in the majority of your reports. Like I said, they're opted in by default now. If you do prefer the session-based reporting or have a need to view the session-based reporting, you can opt your property out of the user-based reporting. To do so, you go into your proper settings under user analysis, and there is, it'll say enable user metrics and reporting, and you could just toggle that off, and that will put it back to the session-based reporting you're used to if you prefer that. I think the most important thing to note here, and the one reason you may have reason to occasionally toggle back to that session-based reporting, is if you are looking at a very large date range or a date range that is in the much farther in the past, it will trigger some sampling. On the Analytics Standard side, if you use a date range that goes before September 1st, 2016, you likely will run into sampling. On the Analytics 360 side, that's May 1st, 2016, so the dates are a little different. So that's just one thing to keep in mind if you really have a need to look at an unsampled report and you're looking at a past date range. You may want to toggle back to session-based reporting for that. Otherwise, we strongly recommend using the user-based reporting since it'll give you different insights and it's much more user-centric. So here's another update that's a little smaller, unless this is a report you are very attached to. We are deprecating the Audience Insights report. It wasn't very widely used, and actually it only ever rolled out to 1% of our analytics properties. We had this rollout back in July 2015. Very high maintenance costs and very low usage, not particularly popular report, so it just didn't make sense to continue with the rollout. So with this report being removed from the UI, there are also a couple of related metrics that will go with it. That's global audience index and global audience size. So if that is something you currently have access to and are in the habit of using, just please note that that will be going away. Shouldn't come as a huge surprise if this is something that is currently enabled in your account, if you are part of that small 1% that this was rolled out to. There will be a notification in your UI that should have gone up late January, and there will be more details linked from there. And the UI also, the notification also states this is going to be removed by end of March. Okay, so moving on to the 360 side of things. So this is also a smaller launch on the 360 side and may not really affect this audience of partners too much. We are introducing designated support contacts. You may not see this in many of the 360 properties. This shows up for properties that have a direct active order directly with Google. So what that means is if you are a sales partner, for example, and you are looking at your end client's account, most likely they don't have an order directly with us because they are working with you, so they will not see this feature. But if for some reason you do have a client, or if on your own account you have a direct order with Google, you will see in the organization settings this designated support contacts option. So even though you'll see this in that case, just know it doesn't actually affect our support model for 360 accounts through sales partners. There is no impact to how we're supporting you. We're not limiting you to 10 contacts. Everything will continue the same. But wanted to let you know why that's there, and you could fill it out. It won't really do anything, so you might not want to take the time. But for clients that are direct with Google, we're introducing this just so they have a little more control over who actually can get in touch at their organization with Google support, and also to make things a little simpler for us in keeping track of who we're working with. But again, no real impact to your clients here. So this is another launch that I actually mentioned a few months ago. This is a beta now. This is the DCM self-service linking for Analytics 360 accounts. So this will allow Analytics 360 customers to link their DoubleClick campaign manager with their GA account. What's really great about this is you don't have to have admin access on both the DoubleClick and the Analytics account. You only need to have it on one account. So if you're familiar with the more popular AdWords and Google Analytics linking feature, you probably already know you have to have edit access on the Analytics property and admin access on the AdWords account, which can sometimes make it really difficult to link the accounts because it's just not all that common to have a single email address with both those levels of access. So we're avoiding that with this DCM linking beta. If you do happen to have edit access on the Analytics property and admin access on the DCM account, it's very simple. Just like the AdWords linking, you'd be able to just link it in one step, be all set up, very easy to go. If, for example, you only have admin access on the Analytics side, but not on the DCM side, what you would do is go in to your property settings to link, and then, or the property column under admin to link the account. And you would send a link request. This would shoot an email over to the DCM admins, who would then be able to approve that this link is valid. And then as a final step on the Analytics side, you will need to go back in and confirm the linking. So a few more steps are involved if you don't have admin access on both sides. But the important thing is it is very easy to do still, even if you don't have access to both accounts. One other thing I want to note that I didn't mention a couple months ago is that if you do set up this linking with your DCM and GA360 account, it will automatically enable auto tagging in the DCM account. As you probably know, this means a DCLID is going to get appended to URLs served from DCM. So if you are working with a client who sets up this linking and they do have a lot of manual tags set up in their DCM account, just note that it will override those tags. You could go into your property settings, and there's an advanced setting to prevent that override from, or to prevent the DCLID from overriding your manual tags. So that's one thing you could do to prevent that from happening. But just something to be aware of in case that's not your ideal scenario. So if this is relevant to you, you have clients using DCM, I would recommend signing up for the beta. I will send out the deck after our training, of course, and you can click the link to the form there. So our final Analytics 360 launch is actually a fairly significant one. I was actually hoping to get the product manager for this in today as well, but he had a conflict. So I am hoping to send out a more in-depth overview than I will be able to do on my side today. So that's something we're going to follow up with in upcoming weeks. So just know that today's overview is going to be a little more brief, but we will follow up with more detailed information for you. So Advanced Analysis is currently rolling out as an alpha. You may have seen it in some of your clients' accounts or in your own accounts. It's rolled out to 10% of all GA360 properties at this time. And we're going to be rolling it out to 100% in the upcoming months. Advanced Analysis is essentially a new tool that comes with Google Analytics 360 and will enable deeper customer journey analysis and insights. So you'll really be able to hone in on your analytics data, your user data. It will be very user-centric, allow you to perform advanced funnel analysis, see segment overlaps. So in other words, if someone, you could take one segment and another segment and see what the overlap is in the users in those segments or the sessions in those segments. And it'll also allow you to directly interact with analytics data to create audience, view underlying users, etc. So it's going to be a useful tool for everyone, but the users who will get the most value are users that are doing a lot of funnel, clickstream, or user-based analysis at this time, are heavy users of segments, which I think is where the segment overlap becomes very handy, or users with the analytics and BigQuery integration. Another good thing to know is because this is currently launching in alpha, if you're a sales partner and you're used to working with our Analytics 360 support team, they actually won't be supporting this because it is an alpha phase. So if you do have feedback or questions on this new product, you can actually go through the in-product help, which is a bug icon on the top right of the Advanced Analysis UI. There will be a small dedicated team that takes that feedback, does their best to act on it. They'll try to answer the questions that come in. So note that there is a proper channel where you can get access to support with this if you need it, although it might not be the one that you're used to. So some comments, I already touched on this in the last slide, but some improvements over the current analytics reporting is there will be a drag and drop interface, so much easier to use than the current analytics interface, which is more just adding secondary dimensions and segments. There will be better funnels as opposed to the custom funnels. Well, that will allow for up to 10 steps, multiple simultaneous segments and dimension breakdowns. A segment overlap technique, which I mentioned before, that shows intersections of users between segments, and also the ability to right-click to view individual users and create segments audiences. I have a little section here that says functionality not found in Data Studio, because I think a common question here is, why would we use analytics as our data visualization tool over Data Studio? There's some features that are found here that aren't going to be in Data Studio. So I called out the funnel technique, segment overlap technique, ability to right-click, etc. But I think the key thing to remember is that this advanced analysis tool is really created to work with your analytics data. So if you're looking to dive into the analytics data and do a really deep analysis using just your analytics data, advanced analysis is going to be a really strong tool because that's what it's created for. Whereas Data Studio, on the other hand, is your data can come from anywhere. It can come from Sheets, it can come from Facebook, it can come from pretty much anywhere. So I think that's the big difference to keep in mind between these two things. And if you're looking to do deep analysis on the analytics side, I would definitely give advanced analysis a try. So with that said, I'm going to walk you through kind of the three phases or the three stages of setting up an advanced analysis in your analytics account. So where you'll start is with the analysis hub. So note that this is not actually tied to a particular property or view, but set at the user account level. So it'll be associated with your login, not with a specific view or account. And this is where you'll actually start your journey. This is where you manage access control. This is where you'll see what templates and advanced analyses are available to you as well if someone has shared them with you. So you'll be able to create new reports from here or work on your existing ones. You'll be able to modify who has access to the reports you've created, etc. From there, once you begin setting it up, that takes you to the next phase, the analysis setup phase. So this is where you'll select what goes into your advanced analysis. So you'll go here to select dimensions, metrics, filters, date range, name your report, state the purpose of the report, etc. In the beginning of this alpha phase, it will be a more limited set of dimensions and metrics that are available to you, but we are going to expand that fully later to everything. So you should be able pretty soon to use all the dimensions and metrics available in your analytics view. From there, that takes you to your analysis canvas, which is where the analysis is done. And this has cross-tab visualizations enabled. So there's a couple columns that you can see in the screenshots there. There's the variables side, which lists out all the variables you have access to, including segments, dimensions, and metrics. If you're working with the report and there's something that you don't see in this variables tab that you are hoping to add to your report, it doesn't mean you can't use it. You can always click the ... up at the top right of that segments column, and there is a way that will show you an option to actually import other variables that are available in whatever view you're working with. So just because you don't see something doesn't mean that you can't actually put it in a report. And there's also the tab settings, which controls all dimensions, metrics, and segments, as well as the visualization itself. So you also get some nice screenshots here. You can see the kind of report you can create here and the type of analysis you can do with advanced analysis. This is our final slide on the advanced analysis. So a couple other things I wanted to call out regarding limits specifically. There is a limit of 10 segments that can be imported into each analysis report. And the other limit to be aware of is that data will generally be unsampled up to 100 million sessions. As with all analytics reports, there may be edge cases where it does still end up sampled below 100 million, but that's the general rule that we're looking at. Beyond 100 million sessions, we do expect sampling to apply. We are working to increase that number of sessions where we have that sampling threshold, but that's to come later. Also, I did link to several quick tips videos here. We have 5 different ones that go a little more in depth on different aspects of advanced analysis. I'm not going to play these right now, but if this is something that you are interested in, I would highly recommend following the links out on this deck after I send it out today. It would be a nice, more in-depth intro, and we're also planning to send out more materials at a later time, as I said. Whew, okay, a couple more things, and then we'll get to Data Studio. I'm just going to touch on a few other updates I wanted to bring up before we move to the Data Studio portion. So one thing, GDPR updates. So this is more of an update on the sales partner side, but I wanted to bring it up here as well. We did send this information directly to sales partners, but wanted to touch on it here. So as you know, GDPR is coming end of May. So if you have a 360 account, you may already be seeing that there is a click to accept DPA in the analytics UI. So one thing to be aware of is if this is a client working with a sales partner, if you're a sales partner, this is your end client, accepting that DPA in the analytics UI won't actually do anything. Won't hurt anything, but it won't actually get anyone ready for GDPR. The way this has to work for our sales partners is we actually will provide the DPA if you have to sign it. If you are in EMEA, you can expect your channel manager to reach out to you directly with the DPA. And if you are in APAC or Americas, you can reach out to your channel manager if you need to sign it, and they will get that to you. They may not have it right this moment available for you, but they should have it in the upcoming week. As for end clients of sales partners, we as Google do not enter into data processing terms directly with them. So we will be providing sample terms to sales partners that your legal team can review and adapt as they see fit, and then they can provide that to the end client. So in other words, we, Google, will be providing our DPA to the sales partner. Sales partner has to provide their DPA to the end client. There's no kind of skipping over that. And I know that there have been a lot of questions on what's coming for GDPR for non-360 accounts as well. So just know we're still working on that, and I'll be sure to update both in the forums and in this monthly training once we have more information. But it may take a little while longer to get that information out. Okay, final section before we bring on Mary. Just wanted to comment on a couple new resources. I think I mentioned this one in the training. I may not have mentioned it in the training, but I did mention it in the Sales Partners Forum. Just a reminder, if you are working with a 360 account, you're a sales partner, be sure to try out the new chat feature. We launched it over a month ago. We've had great response, 100% customer satisfaction, 86% reduction in ticket resolution time. You can use it for any Sweet Home and Analytics 360 questions. And the final thing, this is news for everyone, service partners as well as sales partners. We do have new demo accounts coming soon. We're going to start with the BigQuery and attribution demo accounts, targeting to get those in beta out to partners by end of this quarter. We're going to have some others coming soon yet, but I think we haven't determined what order we'll be releasing these betas, so I'll provide more info on that as I get it. Just one ask is the person who manages these at Google did send an email out to the GACP program forum asking everyone to fill out an interest form. So I would ask that you click that link later if you didn't see this email come into the forum, and let us know how you use these demo accounts so that we can tailor them best for your interests. All right, and with that said, I'd like to introduce Mary. Probably most of you know her better than you know me. So welcome, Mary.
It's so good to be back, Cynthia. Thanks for having me. It's also been fun to eavesdrop on the training because I am a little out of the loop on some things happening across the rest of the suite. So the BigQuery demo account is one I'm particularly excited about.
Oh, cool. Yeah, we could definitely follow up on that later, get you some beta access.
I know. I'm like,
sure.
Should I use the form to sign up, or is there an expedited path for Googlers?
Awesome. Well, it's always exciting to have seasoned veteran back.
Well, happy to be here. So we can jump into the Data Studio updates, and then sounds like we'll end with Q&A.
Yep. Oh, and a reminder to start getting some of your Q&A in, because sometimes there is a delay at the end for us to see those. Yeah.
Cool. All right, I'll jump right in. So the first update I want to talk about on the Data Studio side is an update to our YouTube connector. This is a connector back when I was working on the partner side, I was using to actually track this training. So I'm excited to see these improvements come through. The first couple are updates is that we've added 4 new fields to the connector. A lot of these are really visual-based fields, which is great. So as you can see in the screenshot on the slide, we actually now allow you to link in the thumbnail. You can actually have a clickable thumbnail view. So it really kind of makes your YouTube reports shine that much more by being able to add the visuals of what videos you're tracking. So if you're using YouTube connector, I would recommend adding in these fields. One quick note on that is that if you have an existing connector, in order to add these new fields to it, you need to go into the data source and refresh the fields. That'll trigger us to recheck if the schema has changed and pull in those new fields. So if you don't do that, you won't see these new fields flow through. So make sure you refresh that connector. We also have a new field called video length that has been added. In this particular case, the metric is only available for brand new connectors. So if you want to take advantage of this, go ahead and create a new YouTube data source to take advantage. These are all launched, so you can start making use of them today, as you can see I've done with our partner training videos. Okay, next up. So if you are keeping an eye on the Data Studio Partner Forum, you might have seen an email come through about this. We are working on a larger project to revamp our calculated field experience. I know that this is a area that has a lot of pain points and challenges today. So the first thing that we're doing is we're redoing the space in which you actually create a calculated field. Today, if you're using Data Studio, you know that there's a single row within our data source tool that lets you create those calculated fields. And if you get into any sort of a complex or long field, it becomes really hard to understand what you've built and to troubleshoot if there's any errors. So this update is actually giving you a lot more space. It's a multi-line field builder where you can start composing those calculated fields. If you want to sign up for this, there's a beta link in our GACP Data Studio forum that you can use to sign up. I would also just note that we're rapidly moving towards a public launch. So if all goes to plan, we'll actually be rolling this out publicly next week. So if you can't hold out until then, go ahead and sign up. Otherwise, you should start seeing this in your account very soon. I do want to call out a couple updates about this project on the whole. So the update to the UI of how you actually create the calculated field is just our first step. There's a lot of other things we need to fix as well. One of them is error messaging. I obviously spend a lot of time in Data Studio, and I have a lot of frustrated moments with the error messages that we're returning. So we're doing a project to redo all the error messaging that you get as you're building calculated fields, so those are much more specific and actionable. And that extends to actually being able to tell you what line an error is happening on. Additionally, with our new builder, there's a lot of more space for you to develop your queries. So we're going to be working on adding some improvements on formatting, so you can auto-format the query so it's easier to view and debug. And then lastly, another piece of the project is actually allowing you to have a validation step of the output of the calculated field. If you are, again, a big Data Studio user, you know today that there's a lot of back and forth between actually composing the query and understanding what the output of that is. So we want to make that a lot smoother process, and we're looking at exposing some sort of validation in that new builder experience. If you are an avid calculated field user and you want to share feedback on what's working, what's not working today, what you think we should do with this feature, please just shoot me an email. I'm interested to hear your feedback. My email is mpishny@google.com. All right, next launch. So I feel like this should have a drum roll. One of the features that we hear constantly about from you all, from our end users, is the need to be able to combine multiple data sources in Data Studio. So I am thrilled to let you know that we're working on that right now. Right now we're calling the project Data Blending. You might see that ultimately come out with a slightly different name. But what this project allows you to do is take different data sources that you have, combine them together and visualize them in a single visualization within Data Studio. So today we're working on a small alpha enablement. So we're taking a pretty limited number of early testers and showing them some of the work that's been done to date. And then we'll be moving on towards more of a full beta as we continue to kind of iron out exactly how this feature is going to look. Couple of things right now. You can sign up just as with calculated fields. There's a post in the GACP Data Studio forum, so use that link to sign up. It's also here in the deck. You can express interest in both the alpha and the beta. So if you're really risk is not the right word, but if you're really interested in kind of early stage projects, you can express interest in the alpha. If you're much more comfortable or willing to test once something's a little fuller baked, you can sign up for the beta. A couple things. This is a screenshot on the page of how this looks today. So right now there's an option to just combine more data. When you click that blue button in the property panel, it opens up a composition experience that allows you to kind of define how you want to bring this data together. And then once you do that, you have this new data source of combined data that you can use for that visualization. There are some limits. So for example, there's a limit of 5 data sources that you can bring together at the beginning. The type of join or the type of way that we're bringing in the data is a left outer join to start. We're exploring other ways of doing things like unions that we hear a lot of asks for. And then we're continuing to focus on how we can make this a smoother experience. So you don't need to be a SQL expert or somebody who has to have an intimate knowledge of joins to be able to use this feature. So lots more work to come on this particular project, but happy to let you know that we're moving along here. I was playing around with this last night. So when I say it's early, we just started making it available internally to our team last week. So it's been really fun to start playing around with it. And if you guys are familiar with a site called data.world that has a lot of different data sets on it, they actually have a community connector integration with Data Studio. So it's really easy to take a data set from data.world and start connecting to that in Data Studio. So I'm particularly interested in education. So they have a data set on education rates of bachelor degrees or higher. And if you can see on the screen here on the right-hand side, they have a bunch of tables that of data that are available. And the two tables that I wanted were broken out by gender of male and female. So prior to this feature, as many of you guys would know, I would have to have downloaded both of those tables, done the combining or the joining in Sheets or in BigQuery or some other solution, and then reconnect to that through Data Studio. But now, using community connectors, I was able to connect to both data sources. And then using data blending, I was able to actually bring these two data sources together in this single chart. So it's a pretty straightforward chart, but it's looking at the education rates for male and female across the years. And it was a really fun moment for me to be able to bring that together in many fewer steps than what you would likely be doing today. So very excited to start getting this into your hands. If you've expressed interest in the alpha or beta, we will reach out if we enable you. So if you don't hear anything from us, we're still working through getting it out to folks. But once we enable you, we'll definitely be in touch with next steps. Okay, the last piece here to talk about is another launch that is a really exciting launch. We're calling it Data Explorer. It's a beta launch that I'm going to give a little bit of a quick demo of, but we're excited to start rolling this out to interested users as a beta. That extends to both you, our partners, as well as your clients. So if you have clients that you think would like to make use of this, you're welcome to have them sign up as well. But before we get into all the enablement piece, what is it? So Data Explorer is a new space that we have within Data Studio that allows you to do quick ad hoc queries on your data. And it really is helpful if you're wanting to explore a data set a little bit further before you formalize it into a report, or through one of our integrations with BigQuery. It makes it much easier if you have a BigQuery table that you want to explore, and perhaps you don't have the full set of SQL skills that you need to do the exploration you want. You can start using this integration and Data Explorer to start exploring that data in a quick and efficient manner. So let's take a look. A couple things that you should know about Data Explorer. One is that it works across all data source connectors. There is an integration with BigQuery, so that's what I'll show you in a demo, but you can use it on any types of data you have. So I know Cynthia was talking a little bit about the Analyze experience within Google Analytics. One of the nice things about Data Explorer is that you can take something outside of your GA data and explore there. So a good option if you have something outside of GA data that you want to dig into further. There's no cost for Data Explorer. It's a part of Data Studio. So it's a new space within Data Studio, but there's no additional cost for it. Per normal, the BigQuery connector does have a cost as you use that to issue queries. So that doesn't change, but there's no additional cost for Data Explorer itself. And then Data Explorer has a couple different entry points. So one thing I wanted to call out is that when you're in BigQuery, as I mentioned, there's an option to explore in Data Studio, which is a great way to take that BigQuery table and explore it more in a visual editor space. You can also actually start in your Data Studio reports. If there's a particular table or chart that you're like, I want to actually explore this further, you can right click on it and you'll see in the kind of the overflow menu that shows up an Explore option. And then finally, there's also just an explore space within your Data Studio homepage. So if you know that that's where you want to head, you can head directly there using the button from the Data Studio homepage. Okay, enough about that. I'm going to go ahead and hop over to a demo real quick. If we can find it, here we go. All right, so many of you, I'm sure, are familiar with BigQuery. So we have the lovely BigQuery UI here. It's a little overwhelming. There's a lot of information for you to process on the page. So I'll walk you through it real quick. If you're not familiar, you have your query builder space at the top of the page. You can use that to write your SQL queries. Underneath it, you have your table details, your schema. In this particular case, I'm using one of our BigQuery public data sets, which I find really fun to explore. In this case, it's a baseball data set, and it looks at all of this baseball stats from 2016. Quick confession, I'm not a huge baseball expert, but one thing I do know is they know how to record stats, and every single data point is recorded, which is really fun to look through. So in this case here, instead of writing a SQL query to start exploring this data set, I want to see if there's an easier way to do that, which Explorer allows you to do. So what you'll notice is that we are now exposing a button within the BigQuery UI that says Explore in Data Studio. So as you can guess, we're going to use that shortly. So first things first, I'm going to go ahead and say Explore in Data Studio. And what you'll notice here is that it's going to load up a new Explore space within Data Studio. It is making a ad hoc query to BigQuery for us. So if you're again a Data Studio user, you'll notice that I didn't go in and create a BigQuery data source. I didn't have to define that. We're going and doing that on the fly for you. If you ultimately are going to take this exploration and turn around and want to use it in reporting, you'll have a way to indicate to us that you want to save this and persist this. But when you're first starting out to explore, it's really quick and easy to just take your table and go ahead and turn around and explore it in this new visual space. So I'm familiar with this schema, so I'm going to jump ahead a little bit, but I do know that in addition to the baseball stats, they have a lot of stats on the stadiums themselves, which I find interesting, and we're based out here in California, so I actually want to take a little closer look at the capacity of the stadiums that we have out in California. So we call them, or it's all under venue, so I'm going to do a little bit of configuring here, and I'm going to take venue city, I'm going to take venue state, and then I'm going to take venue capacity. All right, so I can start taking a look at this. Okay, great. So I've got venue state, venue city, venue capacity. I know I want to actually switch this over to average so I can get a better look at the actual capacity. So this is great. So I can start quickly doing the drag and drop with our new property panel. I can also take things that are in my schema and add them to the filter bar at the top of the page to quickly create filters on this table. So again, California women out here. So I'm going to find venue state and drop that on our filter bar. I also, let's see here, I'm going to go ahead and filter this California only. Let's take a look at the different cities that we have. Great. Okay, I've got Los Angeles, San Diego. Ooh, it's a little bit less than some of the other ones, darn. Within that, I can still use all the visualization options that we have. So we call it viz switching. I can switch over to a geomap to actually have these visualized on the page. Another thing I actually wanted to take a look at was how the venue capacity compares to attendance. So let's take a look here. And do a couple more updates, venue name. All right. So as I play around with this, I can quickly start exploring this data that would have taken many different SQL queries to get to this point. In this case, I'm now looking at our attendance versus venue capacity. And let's say I get to a spot where I'm ready to actually move this into a report and start sharing out these insights with some of my other colleagues. So what I can do here is go ahead and hit save. And then we will save this for you so you can come back to this. Or in this case, I'm going to go ahead and actually copy it to or create a new report with this data in it. So what we'll do here is we'll move you into your reporting space that you're likely familiar with. At this point, this is when we start kind of moving into that traditional workflow where you actually have this data source that you add to the page. So we've pushed that down the line so you can get into the Explore space really quickly. So now you'll notice that exploration that I created right off the bat is available for me here. I can start styling this. I can add it with additional data. As soon as data blending is out to you, you can start combining this with other sports data. So it's a great way to start exploring your data quickly. Again, this is available both through BigQuery if you want to use that to explore your tables that you have in BigQuery. You can also, if I was to view this, I can also right click and you'll see that there's an Explore option here, as well as directly within the Data Studio UI if you are an enabled customer. So a really exciting feature that we're excited to get your feedback on and have you start testing. If you're interested in signing up, you can sign up through the link in this slide deck, or there's also a link in the Data Studio Partner Forum where you can express interest both for yourself as well as for your clients.
It's awesome. I'm wondering what happens at AT&T Park when attendance is higher than venue capacity.
I know. I'm like, how does that work?
Some of those people need to go over to Oakland Coliseum, I think.
I know that. I was taking a look at that and I was like, oh, Oakland.
Yeah.
Gotta send some folks over there.
Yeah, that's a stadium I grew up going to, so it makes me a little sad. Yeah. All right, great. Are we ready to hop into Q&A?
I think so.
Okay, let's take a look. And thank you, Mary. I am so happy you were able to do that demo. So it looks like we mostly have advanced analysis questions here. So if you do have Data Studio questions for Mary, please do get them in. Otherwise, let me check. First question. So it looks like most of our questions are advanced analysis, at least for now. First question is from Paul, asking any advanced analysis planned releases for standard analytics. Not at this time. I actually haven't heard that that's coming either. If that does come on the roadmap, we'll definitely let you know. But at this time, it's definitely a 360 only feature. But great question. Okay, hopping back into the Q&A. Question from Andy. For the advanced analysis, will this be the alpha version that will be rolled out, or will it be considered in beta? So once that's rolled out to 100% of accounts, it'll no longer be alpha. I don't think we would roll an alpha out to everyone. So it'll be beta at that point, and that should be coming in the next couple of months. Yeah.
This is fun to see a lot of names that I recognize. So
yeah, that's really funny. I may not be able to answer this one. Let me see. Here's a question from Joe. Any updates on nested GTM containers? The GTM container size is limiting for some of our larger clients, and this seems to be a way to help address this issue. I don't have an update on this at this time, but I will check in with our product manager for Google Tag Manager after this training, and I'll provide an update if there is one in the deck that gets sent out. If there is no update, I'll indicate that as well. Okay, hopping back over. Let's see. So it looks like we do have some Data Studio ones, but I'm gonna finish up the advanced analysis ones first. Here's a question from Paul. Is the advanced analysis funnel analysis intended to be a replacement for custom funnels reporting for 360 accounts? Will that beta be closed eventually? That's a good question, and to be honest, this is another one that I don't know the answer to off the top of my head. I imagine it's probably not replacing custom funnels completely. For one thing, advanced analysis is kind of in its own UI, so it's a little bit separate. But because I don't know for sure, I'll follow up on this one as well, and I'll be sure to get feedback directly from the product manager working on this. And I will post that information with the deck. Okay, let's see. I think we had a few more. This is a great question. One of my clients has strong needs on funnel analysis. Is it possible to roll out the feature on demand? This is something that I've actually been talking to the team working on this about to see if we can get a whitelist form sent out. So this is in the works. I'm not sure what the outcome of that conversation will be yet. I think what I can say now is, I am planning to send out more detailed information on advanced analysis in the next couple of weeks. At that time, if there is an on-demand form I can provide with it, I'll send it at that time. Great question. Let me see if there's any more advanced analysis ones before we jump into the Data Studio. I think we covered it. A little easy to get lost here. Okay, great. So now we have some questions for Mary. So Mary, here's a question from Jim. Will Data Explorer generate a SQL query that you can copy and paste?
Awesome. So it does generate a SQL query. The only instance in which you're able to actually see that query, though, is if you're using BigQuery as the connection point, in which case that does show up in your query history. So that's the case today. If you're using BigQuery within Data Studio, you can see the queries that were run, and that's true for Explorer as well. If you're using some other data source for exploration, we don't surface those queries to you at this time. It's something that we've definitely heard from users, is the ability to actually understand what query was written. There's some reasons that make it challenging for us to just surface that straight out of the box. But if this is a big need outside of BigQuery, definitely let us know either in the partner forum, or we have what we call an issue tracker that is a public feature request list. And you're also welcome to check there and see if other people are already asking for it and add your +1 or log a new request.
Great. Love having Mary here to take the Data Studio questions. Much more detailed answer.
Don't stump me, please.
Okay, here's another Data Studio question. Data Studio, will it come a solution for changing owner of a report?
Yes, we're working on it right now. I know that this is a really broken flow. It's a challenging process. Internally at Google, we use Data Studio a lot, and people change roles, they leave the company. So it's something that, internally we're familiar with a lot as well. So that's actually in progress right now to have a much easier transfer solution. Unfortunately, I don't know if I can commit to a timeline right now, but it is under active development. So stay tuned as we get closer to rolling that out.
Yeah, I took over a few reports from Mary when
Yeah.
she changed roles. So I understand.
It's a pain.
I
We're making it
understand
better.
your point, yeah. Okay, great. Let's see. Last call. Oh, it looks like we do have one more here. Great, another Data Studio one. Will date range be improved? For example, year to date compared to last year to date, and more flexibility.
Yes, another great question, something else that's very much on our radar. So there is a similar to calculated fields, date improvements is a pretty wide project. There's a lot of investments that we need to make. So right now we're in the process of scoping out what we want to start with. We're not going to be able to tackle them all day one. So we're prioritizing which improvements we want to make right now. So improvements are coming similar to kind of the other requests. If there's really specific things that you want to see or really want to make a plug for what we should try and fix first, add it to the Data Studio partner forum or check in our public issue tracker. There's a lot of date improvement functionality requested there as well. You're also welcome to shoot me an email at mpishny@google.com with requester improvements. So it's coming. We're designing and prioritizing right now.
Fantastic. Let's see if any more came into the Q&A. No, I think that's it. So I want to thank Mary for coming back. It was great to have her on. It was great to have such a Data Studio expert and a partners veteran here for the training. So thank you again.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully we'll have you back.
Yes.
And thank all of you for joining February's training. We will be sending out more information on advanced analysis in the upcoming couple of weeks. And stay tuned for the March training. Thank you.